This is 18 Global News. First, the headlines. Rivers government reintroduces discount market to ease economic hardship. Court issues final order stopping PDP National Convention. Tinubu reappoints Mohammed Marwa as NDLEA chairman. FG considers mandatory travel insurance for short-stay visas. Tanzania's President Samia orders inquiry to election killings. CAF announces free electronic visas for AFCON 2025 fans. Olamide hails Wizkid as the new king of Afrobeats. Rivers State government has announced the reintroduction of its discount market scheme as part of efforts to cushion the impact of rising food prices and worsening economic hardship across the state. Making the announcement in Port Harcourt on Friday, the government said the initiative would provide essential food items at reduced prices to help support vulnerable households. Officials explained that the move follows growing concerns over inflation and the pressure it has placed on families, especially low-income earners. According to the government, the scheme will roll out in phases, beginning with designated centers in Port Harcourt and Obiakpo, before extending to other local government areas. The administration said logistics and monitoring teams have been set up to ensure smooth operations and prevent hoarding, diversion, or exploitation. The government added that the reintroduced discount market forms part of a broader intervention package aimed at improving food access, stabilizing communities, and supporting residents through current economic difficulties. The government also urged residents to cooperate with officials at distribution points and ensure that more measures would be unveiled in the coming weeks to mitigate hardship across Rivers State. Delta State government has issued a stern reminder to all operators within the state's tourism and hospitality sector to regularize their registration and settle any outstanding renewal fees for the year 2025 without further delay. The State Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, Dr. Darlington EJ, gave the warning on Friday in Asaba, the Delta State capital. EJ emphasized that the directive applies to all establishments, including hotels, motels, guest houses, restaurants, fast food outlets, tour operating companies, travel agencies, amusement parks, gardens, and nightclubs, among others operating in the state. He said the move was part of the state government's effort to streamline operations within the tourism and hospitality sector, enhance regulation, and ensure that all businesses operate within the legal framework. Established by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism, the commissioner therefore urged operators to visit the Delta State Tourism Board to complete their registration or renewal process promptly to avoid penalties. Delta state laws require hospitality and tourism businesses to register and pay annual renewal fees. The registration process is managed by the Delta State Tourism Board, which oversees the classification and monitoring of hotels, guest houses, nightclubs, and other tourism-related enterprises in the state. Non-compliance with registration and renewal requirements has been a recurring issue. Mobile courts have also been deployed to sanction businesses that fail to meet the state's registration and renewal obligations. Edo State Deputy Governor Dennis Idahosa has called on President Bola Tinubu to stop further drilling of crude oil in the disputed oil wells between Edo and Delta states until the long-running boundary issue is resolved. Idahosa made the appeal in Benin, the state capital, on Friday while receiving members of the National Boundary Commission led by its Director General Adamu Adaji. He also urged the federal government to freeze the accounts of Delta state-based oil companies operating in the affected areas. According to a statement signed by his chief press secretary, Friday Agedo, the deputy governor said the measures were necessary to ensure fairness and justice in the dispute. Idahosa urged the NBC to thoroughly examine all documents relating to the disputed oil wells before it, with a view to determining their rightful ownership. Despite what he described as provocation from Delta State, he noted that the Orogo and Oronigbe communities, where the oil rigs are located, had remained peaceful and law-abiding. Meanwhile, the NBC Director General reaffirmed the Commission's commitment to resolving the matter urgently. He said the team's visit was necessitated by the need to ensure progress after delays. Imo State Police Command has commenced enforcement of ban on all activities of the state, Environmental Transformation Agency Commission (ENTRACO) and other related task forces as directed by Governor Hope Uzodinma. The command, in a press statement made available to journalists through its spokesperson, DSP Henry Okoye, informed that it has fully commenced the enforcement of the suspension and urged affected staff of the agency, its related allies, to comply with the new order. Okoye hinted that in view of the directives, the Commissioner of Police, CP Aboki Danjuma, has accordingly directed all area commanders, divisional police officers, and tactical commanders to ensure strict compliance. He stated that anyone operating under the name or the guise of ENTRACO will be promptly arrested and prosecuted. In addition, the command spokesperson further informed that the police is working closely with the state government to support ongoing investigations into ENTRACO's activities. Okoye assured members of the public that the command, in the process of carrying out the enforcement, will remain committed in protecting lives and property, upholding the law, and maintaining public confidence. Former Anambra State Governor Chief Willie Obiano is alive and in good health, contrary to widespread rumors circulating on social media suggesting that he had passed away. His former Commissioner for Information, Mr. C. Don Adinuba, dismissed the reports on Friday, describing them as false and mischievous. Adinuba confirmed that he had personally spoken with Obiano and that the former governor is not only alive but healthy and residing in the United States, not the United Kingdom, as some online reports claimed. He urged the public to disregard the rumors, noting that such unfounded claims could cause unnecessary distress to Obiano's family, associates, and the people of Anambra State. Majority Leader of the Ondo State House of Assembly, Mr. Olatunji Oshati, has dismissed claims that the House is in crisis over alleged plans to change its leadership. Reports circulating on social media suggested that some members had passed a vote of no confidence against the Speaker, Mr. Olamide Oladiji, over allegations of gross misconduct and were preparing to impeach him. In a statement issued on Friday, Ashati clarified that the Assembly remains intact and there is no crisis. He emphasized that democracy thrives when disagreements are handled reasonably and constructively. Oshati also urged journalists to ensure balanced reporting to avoid creating unnecessary tension, stressing that ethical reporting is key to maintaining public trust. Lagos state government has announced plans to issue 1 trillion naira worth of asset-backed securities in the first quarter of next year as part of efforts to deepen the capital market and unlock value from state-owned assets. The State Commissioner for Finance, Oluyomi Abayomi, disclosed this at the Investment Banking Awards dinner of the Association of Issuing Houses of Nigeria, held in Lagos on Thursday. Abayomi said the initiative followed the successful completion of a 200 billion naira bond issuance, which he described as a major milestone in the state's financing and investment strategy. He added that some local government areas in the state would also approach the capital markets to issue municipal bonds in the first half of 2026 as part of broader efforts to strengthen subnational financing and keep the markets active and attractive to investors. According to him, Lagos financing initiatives are designed to boost investor confidence, enhance liquidity, and provide sustainable funding channels for infrastructure and development. Projects across the state, Abayomi noted that the state's 200 billion naira 10-year bond and 14.815 billion naira green bond, the first by any subnational government in Nigeria, were both oversubscribed by about 70%. Gunmen suspected to be kidnappers have attacked and abducted a trader and former ward chairman of the People's Democratic Party in Buria, Shia Ward, Baruten local government area of Kwara State. Abubakar Sise was kidnapped from his residence in the Boria community in the early hours of Thursday, according to information gathered. The attack occurred around 12 a.m. when the kidnappers stormed the compound, firing several gunshots into the air to frighten residents. Sources said that one of Alhaji Sise's sons encountered the kidnappers as he was returning home late at night. The gunman reportedly ordered him to call his father and open the door for them. Upon entering, they took only the father, leaving other family members unharmed. By morning, shells of bullets and some live bullets were found scattered around the compound, confirming that several shots were fired during the attack. Residents described the incident as brief but frightening, lasting only a few minutes before the gunmen fled. The local vigilante team in Boria was immediately alerted and has begun searching the surrounding areas in an effort to track the attackers and rescue the victim, This is the second kidnapping incident recorded in the area within 2 months. As of the time of filing this report, the whereabouts of Alhaji Sabi Sise remained unknown. Katsina State Hisbah Board on Friday destroyed more than 120 cartons of seized alcoholic drinks in Funtua as part of its ongoing enforcement operations against items considered contrary to Islamic teachings. The exercise was led by the commander of the Hisbah Board in Dandume local government area, DC Bashir Lawal Balarabe, alongside officials from the Funtua zone. The State Commander General Sheikh Malam Aminu Usman Abu Amma, PhD, was also present to supervise the operation. Officials said the alcohol was confiscated during routine patrols aimed at curbing the consumption, distribution, and trafficking of intoxicants prohibited under Islamic law. They described the action as part of efforts to address rising moral concerns in the region. At the event, Islamic scholars reiterated the Islamic prohibition of alcohol and warned against its negative impact on society. Speaking after the destruction, the Commander General said the board has intensified its campaign against alcohol-related activities following the re-establishment of the Hisbah by Governor Diko Rada. He commended the governor for strengthening the institution to address moral and social challenges in the state. The event was attended by senior Hisbah officials from the Funtua zone and Islamic scholars from various parts of the region. In a move to ensure a clean Federal Capital City and create order in the sanitation system, the Federal Capital Territory Administration has announced that it would commence a new waste management regime from Monday, November 17, 2025. This was revealed in a media briefing shortly after the FCT Executive Committee meeting held in Abuja as chaired by the FCT Minister Barrister Nyesom Wike. Addressing journalists, the coordinator of the Abuja Municipal Management Council, Chief Felix Amechi Oboa, disclosed that the Executive Committee ratified and approved the memo for new contractors to provide waste collection and management services in the various locations of the FCT.
Today, the Abuja Metropolitan Management Council seek and presented for ratification the award of contract for the provision of waste collection and management services in the various locations of the Federal Capital Territory and operational maintenance of water basic treatment plant and procurement of monitoring and supervisory utility vehicles under AMC. And by the special grace of God, the ESCO graciously ratified and approved the provision of waste collections and management in FCT. By special grace of God, by Monday, the 17th of November, the new contractors will take up the waste collection and management of FCT. Many people have complained about the waste being disposed here and there, but by the special grace of God, with this approval, you see a clean Abuja.
Speaking also on waste disposal, Satellite Towns Development Department Honorable Abdul Kader Zulkiflu said the committee ratified the payment of a contract for the provision of emergency evacuation of waste from open dumps collection points, waterways and streams in Dogon Gada community in the Abuja Municipal Area Council.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, good afternoon. After long deliberation that took place from the EXCO, today, by the special grace of God, part of what has been approved in the Satellite Towns Development Department is the ratification of award of contract for the emergency evacuation of waste in open dumps and collection points, waterways and streams at Dogongada community at Abuja Municipal Area Council in favor of Mrs. That is the name of the contractor, Dexter 360 Exploits Limited, in the sum of 111,913,176 naira, inclusive of 7.5 VAT, and it took place within the period of 4 weeks, sometimes last year in October 2024. So the purpose of that was to clear all the affected areas in terms of waste evacuation in Dogongada community.
While the FCT Transportation Secretary, Honorable Chinedum Elechi, announced the approval of funds for printing services for the Directorate of Road Transport Services, he added that approval has also been given for the operation and maintenance of 34 old traffic lights, as well as the installation of 3 new traffic lights within the Federal Capital City. Plateau State government has dismissed persistent rumors claiming that Governor Caleb Mutfwang has defected to the Young Progressives Party. In a statement released on Friday, the Director of Press and Public Affairs, Government House, Dr. Gyang Beri, described the claim as a blatant lie, a shameless concoction peddled by desperate mischief makers aimed at creating confusion and misleading citizens. The statement reaffirms that Mutfwang remains committed to his duties and has not defected to any party. The government called on supporters and residents to disregard the false claim and stay focused on the governor's development projects and people-centered initiatives. Rumors of the governor's defection have persisted for months, with reactions split among members of the All Progressives Congress, some welcoming the alleged move while others rejected it. Our correspondent reports. However, Mutfwang, elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, has again on Friday insisted that he remains in the party. Adamawa State Judiciary, in collaboration with the Public and Private Development Center, has discharged 57 inmates and granted bail to 29 others as part of an ongoing decongestion exercise across correctional centers in the state. The Chief Judge of Adamawa State, Justice Hasfat Abdurrahman, announced the figures on Friday during the conclusion of the jail delivery exercise at the Junta Custodial Center in Yola. According to her, the committee also reviewed the sentences of 3 inmates and assessed the cases of 52 non-convicted inmates. She noted that the PPDC paid fines for 4 inmates who had been convicted with an option of fine, leading to their discharge. Justice Abdurrahman advised the released inmates to conduct themselves responsibly and avoid returning to criminal activities. She explained that many of them had committed minor offenses and were not considered to require prolonged detention. In her remarks, Ms. Muturayo Anibaba, State Program Manager for PPDC, said the organization allocated 1 million naira to support the payment of fines for convicted detainees. She stated that reducing overcrowding in custodial centers in one of the organization's key objectives, adding that the intervention forms part of the reforming pre-trial detention in Nigeria project phase 2, aimed at strengthening justice delivery and safeguarding the rights and dignity of detainees. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the reappointments of Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Mawa, retired, as chairman of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, extending his tenure for another 5 years. This was contained in a statement on Friday by Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga. Mawa, who first assumed the role in January 2021 under former President Muhammadu Buhari, will remain at the helm of the Anti-Narcotics Agency until 2031. Before his initial appointment, he chaired the Presidential Advisory Committee for the Elimination of Drug Abuse from 2018 to 2020, a distinguished military officer and administrator. The Adamawa-born Mawa previously served as military governor of Lagos and Borno states. Tinubu described the renewal of Mawa's mandate as an affirmation of his effectiveness and dedication in Nigeria's battle against illicit drugs. Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sunday Aneke, has promised that the Nigerian Air Force will relentlessly pursue insurgents, terrorists, and criminal gangs undermining the country's security, insisting that nowhere in Nigeria will be safe haven for those threatening national stability. He described Nigeria's security landscape as increasingly complex, noting that ruthless non-state actors continue to unleash violence on communities. According to him, the military has a duty to respond with this precision, innovation, and uncompromising force. A statement on Friday by the service spokesman, Air Commodore Ehimen Ejodame, said Aneke spoke during an operational visit to the air component of Operation Fansanyama, Sector 2/213 Forward Operating Base in Katsina, where he directed personnel to intensify operations in line with President Bola Tinubu's mandate to eliminate all threats to citizens' safety. The CAS said the federal government's heavy investment in new aircraft, advanced weapons, and improved training places the responsibility on the NAF to deliver results. He urged personnel to honor the sacrifices of fallen colleagues by remaining resolute. Aneke praised frontline troops for their courage and professionalism despite harsh operational conditions and charged them to sustain the tempo of ongoing counter-terrorism and anti-banditry operations across the north. Reiterating his leadership philosophy anchored on decisive warfare and strong personnel welfare, he pledged that training equipment and living conditions would continue to meet the force's operational demands. Independence Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission has reaffirmed its commitment to transparency, accountability, and due process in the conduct of its 2025 asset disposal exercise. The commitment was reiterated on Thursday during the official bid opening ceremony for auctioneers held at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. The ICPC had earlier in October released the outcomes of its 2024 asset disposal exercise, detailing the assets recovered and their utilization. According to a statement released to newsmen on Friday by the ICPC spokesperson, Demola Bakare, the chairman of the commission, Dr. Musa Aliyu, represented by the director of the Systems Study and Review Department, Mr. Olusegun Adigun, emphasized that the disposal process would be strictly guided by merit and integrity. He added that only auctioneers who meet the stipulated requirements would qualify for the next stage of the exercise. Also speaking, the director of the Proceeds of Crimes Department, Mrs. Grace Agaibe, reaffirmed the Commission's resolve to uphold fairness, noting that the disposal process must reflect credibility at every stage. The executive director of the Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity, Mr. Umar Yakubu, commended the Commission for adhering to global anti-corruption standards, particularly the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Speaking on behalf of the Commission, Bakare reiterated that the ICPC would not compromise its principles in the management and disposal of recovered assets. Joint health sector unions and the Assembly of Healthcare Professional Associations have declared an indefinite nationwide strike effective Saturday, November 15, 2025. The union cited the federal government's persistent failure to implement the adjusted consolidated health salary structure and resolve long-standing welfare and systemic issues affecting health workers as the reason for the strike. The decision was announced in a statement signed by the national chairman of JOHESU, Comrade Kabiru Ado Menjibe, and made available to our correspondents on Friday. The shutdown of JOHESU-affiliated unions comes at a time when the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors is already on an indefinite strike over unpaid hazard allowance arrears, poor working conditions, and failure to implement agreed welfare reforms. The overlapping strikes by both doctors and other health professionals are expected to cripple services in federal teaching hospitals, specialist centers, and many state-owned hospitals. JOHESU represents several key unions, including the Medical and Health Workers Union of Nigeria, the Nigerian Union of Allied Health Professionals, the Senior Staff Association of Universities, Teaching Hospitals, Research Institutes and Associated Institutions, and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions. While JOHESU stressed that the delay in implementing the adjusted CON has remained the principal trigger, the union said several other unresolved issues informed the decision to shut down services. Justice Peter Lifu of the Federal High Court in Abuja has barred the People's Democratic Party from holding its 2025 National Convention in Ibadan, Oyo State, scheduled for November 15 to 16. The court ruled that the convention cannot proceed until former Jigawa State Governor Sule Lamido is allowed to purchase a nomination form for the office of National Chairman. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is also prohibited from supervising or assisting the event until Lamido can participate. The PDP has been embroiled in conflict court rulings over the convention. On November 4, the Oyo State High Court had ordered the party to proceed escalating tensions within the party and raising concerns about judicial conduct. Despite the legal disputes, PDP governors insist the convention must hold to elect national officers. Calls for reconciliation have emerged, with former Senate President Bukola Saraki urging the party to set up a caretaker committee to manage affairs temporarily. Party stakeholders, including National Working Committee members, serving and former governors, and state chairmen, are actively engaged in resolving the leadership crisis to ensure stability ahead of the 2025 elections. Wike-led faction of the People's Democratic Party has insisted that the party's national convention slated for November 15 in Ibadan was not recognized by law. The chairman of the Board of Trustees, Senator Mao Ohuabunwa, disclosed this after the National Working Committee's meeting in Abuja on Thursday night, stressing that the PDP National Secretary, Senator Sam Anyanwu, had issued a circular notifying members about the postponement of the convention. The acting national...
Let me, on behalf of the BOT Secretary, thank members of the BOT and indeed the party at large, that one, elected us to this position, and those who have shown support, solidarity, either through calls, visitation, and other means of reaching us to congratulate us. I want to thank you. And like I said at the day of my the inauguration, I say that this trust will never be misplaced. And I'm privileged to be a pioneer, founding member of this party. And we have over time watched our party decline because we have refused to obey our rules and our laws. We have allowed people with impunity and flagrant abuse of our constitution. But I think we've gotten to the stage that we have come to recover our party. We will not let that happen anymore. So we are here to support the National Working Committee to ensure that we obey constituted authority, we obey the rules, we obey the constitution and the law of this party. And it's on that note, on behalf of the Board of Trustees of this great party, the conscience of this party, to say that the decisions taken, both as a party, the court, that we have accepted and agreed that we are not going to Ibadan for any convention. That is not the decision of this party, and anybody proposing that is an enemy to this great party. We want to assure you that by the grace of God, we are piloting this party in the right direction, and by the grace of God, we are going to get to our destination.
The acting national chairman, Abdul Rahman Mohammed, called on the delegates to stay away from the convention and wait for the right time, and also promised to keep mobilizing members across the 36 states and the FCT for a strong and united PDP.
To make it clear to all PDP members across the 36 states and FCT that our position is very open. We are law-abiding citizens, and we are going to be in line with the judgment of the Federal High Court and the other judgment that held yesterday. We are going to obey the two judgments, and we are using this opportunity to call all our delegates across the Federation that they should all stay away from the purported National Convention in Ibadan. We are not in line with that, and we remain a law-abiding citizen. The decision of the court is stand, and we are going to work to make sure that we have a sustainable democracy in Nigeria.
On his part, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, commended members of the party for defending PDP in their respective areas, insisting that his camp will always uphold the rule of law, would not succumb to intimidation, and pledged not to betray those that believe in the constitution of the party.
We as a party will join in that suit, and the court allowed our joinder in that suit. And the court said, look, come and show cause why I should not grant this order. In essence, all parties were present. The counsel to PDP, the counsel to the plaintiff, and the counsel to all the defendants were all present in the court. An ex parte order cannot override a substantive judgment. Not. So all of us, don't bother yourself about people who are gathering in the assembly center. Don't bother yourself about people gathering in their bedrooms. Don't bother yourself about people who are making available as governors of state. You can make available facilities for anybody to use. You cannot go to court to stop them. That is not the convention of PDP. The court has said, INEC don't recognize. And I do know, INEC being a law-abiding institution, will you also abide to this one? I do know that INEC will obey the judgment of the Federal High Court. It will be wrong. It will be difficult for me to believe that INEC will obey ex parte order against the substantive judgment. It will be difficult.
Human rights lawyer Femi Falana, senior advocate of Nigeria, has said Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, was legally empowered to inspect a disputed parcel of land in Abuja during a confrontation with military personnel earlier in the week. Speaking at an event at the University of Abuja, Falana criticized both parties, condemning Wike for verbally insulting the officer involved. He argued that no public official is permitted to ridicule any citizen and urged President Bola Tinubu to direct the minister to apologize, referencing a similar precedent in Ghana where a deputy minister was compelled to retract offensive comments. Falana also faulted the soldiers' actions, saying they exceeded their authority by preventing the minister from carrying out his statutory responsibilities. Citing Section 11 of the Land Use Act, he said the FCT minister and state governors have broad powers to enter and inspect land within their jurisdictions. According to him, the military officer acted illegally, reportedly following directives from superior officers. Falana maintained that while Wike had the right to inspect the land, he should have stepped back and pursued legal remedies if obstructed, such as petitioning the authorities or seeking a court order. He dismissed suggestions that insulting a uniformed officer threatens national security, saying military attire does not place its wearer above accountability. We'll go on a short break now, and when we return, we will continue with the rest of the stories. Please stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now to the rest of our stories. House of Representatives has taken fresh steps to reposition Nigeria's fishing and maritime industries with the presentation of 3 strategic reports designed to unlock the country's vast oceanic resources, enhance professional standards, and strengthen its competitiveness within the global blue economy. The chairman of the House Committee on Oceans and Fisheries, Akarachi Amadi, laid the reports before lawmakers on Thursday. In a statement released by the committee's media unit on Friday, Amadi said the proposed legislations aim to deepen research, expand technical capacity, and boost innovation across critical segments of Nigeria's maritime economy. Nigeria, blessed with more than 850 kilometers of coastline, expansive continental shelves, and some of West Africa's richest marine ecosystems, offers enormous yet underutilized potential for fisheries development, aquaculture expansion, offshore services, and blue economy enterprise. Amadi noted that the 3 bills are crafted to tap into these opportunities while improving local expertise for global relevance. The institutes, he explained, will focus on research crucial to Nigeria's brackish water and coastal fisheries, areas known to support some of the country's most commercially viable aquatic species. Federal government is considering the introduction of a mandatory travel insurance policy to cover repatriation expenses for individuals entering Nigeria on short-stay visas. The move is designed to ease the financial pressure on taxpayers and strengthen national risk management systems. According to a statement from the National Insurance Commission, the Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, met with the Commissioner for Insurance and Chief Executive Officer of the Commission, Mr. Olusegun Ayo Omosehin, in Abuja to discuss the proposal. NICOM disclosed that the meeting identified significant taxpayer expenses related to repatriation, estimated at billions of naira annually, and proposed a strategic solution, implementing travel insurance to cover repatriation expenses, particularly for individuals entering Nigeria on short-stay visas. Officials at the meeting agreed that such a policy would ease the financial load on the government and support broader economic stability. The discussion also focused on the need for the federal government to shift some existing liabilities to insurance companies in order to build more efficient and cost-effective structures for managing national risks. Nigerian Railway Corporation has apologized to passengers on the Abuja-Kaduna train service for delays experienced on Wednesday, stating no passenger was stranded. The delay, which affected the afternoon service, occurred after a procedural safety decision was made when the train's backup engine began losing power shortly after departure. The train returned to Rigasa, Kaduna as a precaution before resuming its journey at 4 p.m. and arriving at Idu Station at 6:52 p.m., approximately 80 minutes behind schedule. Responding in a statement on Friday, NRC Managing Director Kayode Opeifa dismissed reports suggesting that passengers were stranded, describing them as misleading. He stressed that the corporation prioritizes safety above all else, which informed the decision to return the train to Rigasa, Kaduna. According to the NRC boss, the evening timing warranted a more cautious approach, adding that passengers were regularly updated via public address systems, both on train at the Rigasa station. Opeifa reassured travelers and stakeholders that the NRC remains committed to upholding the highest safety and reliability standards across its rail network, both narrow and standard gauge, ensuring passengers reach their destinations safely. Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate has completed the payment of 3.9 billion naira arrears to 91,146 eligible pensioners under the defined benefit scheme. This was contained in a statement issued by the head of corporate communications, Mr. Olugbenga Ajayi, in Abuja on Friday. He said the payment was part of the 32,000 naira increment approved by President Bola Tinubu. The Executive Secretary of PTAD, Tolulope Odunaya, reiterated the federal government's commitment to settling all outstanding arrears and improving pensioners' welfare under the renewed hope agenda of the President. ATN had reported that PTAD announced that the implementation of the new pension increments for pensioners under the DBS will begin in the September 2025 payroll cycle. PTAD said the increments package includes a fixed 32,000 naira payment alongside percentage increases of 10.66% and 12.95% for eligible categories, which will benefit about 832,000 pensioners under its management. You're still watching the news on Atlantic Television Network, and up next is International Tidbits. Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan announced on Friday that her government has established an independent commission to investigate the deaths and destruction that occurred during the country's 29 October general election. The announcement came during her inaugural address to Parliament following her declaration as the winner with 98% of the vote. President Suluhu expressed deep concern over the violence that overshadowed the elections, which reportedly left hundreds dead and drew widespread criticism, both domestically and internationally. She offered condolences to the families affected and requested that Parliament observe a moment of silence for the victims. The president also called on young people in Tanzania to safeguard national unity, emphasizing that peace is the country's most valuable asset. Her remarks followed a call from the United Nations urging Tanzania to conduct a credible investigation into the killings and the damage to homes and businesses that occurred during clashes between security forces and protesters. Despite the unrest, President Suluhu praised the Electoral Commission for organizing a smoother voting process compared with previous elections and noted that all candidates were allowed to campaign, even though opposition groups have contested this. Highlighting arrests and restrictions on key challenges, she acknowledged that the post-election violence had disrupted national peace and emphasized that the inquiry commission would guide reforms to prevent similar incidents in the future, aiming to restore safety and rebuild trust across the country. United Nations peacekeepers have reported that Israel's army constructed walls in southern Lebanon near the UN demarcated blue line in de facto border. Although Israel has denied the claim, the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, working with the Lebanese army to uphold a truce reached last November between Israel and Hezbollah, described the construction as a violation of Lebanese sovereignty. In October, UNIFIL surveyed the concrete T-wall built by the Israel Defense Forces southwest of Yaron, confirming that it crossed the blue line and blocked over 4,000 square meters of Lebanese territory. Further observations in November indicated additional T-wall construction southeast of Yaron also crossed the border. The Israeli military said the walls as part of a broader plan initiated in 2022 to reinforce the northern border, asserting that it does not cross the blue line. Under the ceasefire, Israel was supposed to withdraw its forces from southern Lebanon, but it has maintained positions in 5 areas it considers strategic and continues regular strikes on Lebanon, primarily targeting Hezbollah sites and operatives. UNIFIL stated that Israel's presence and construction in Lebanese territory violates Security Council Resolution 1701 and undermine Lebanon's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The resolution, which ended the 2006 conflict between Israel and Hezbollah, also underpinned last November's truce that aimed to halt over a year of hostilities, including 2 months of intense fighting. UNIFIL informed the Israeli army of the October findings and requested the relocation of the walls, and it will formally communicate the results of the November survey. The force reiterated its call for the IDF to fully respect the blue line and withdraw from all areas north of it. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced Thursday a military operation to remove narco-terrorists amid growing concerns that the U.S. naval buildup in Latin American waters could presage land strikes and a wider conflict. The Post gave no details of what the operation would entail or how it might differ from military actions already being undertaken. President Donald Trump's administration is conducting a military campaign in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific, deploying a naval and air force for what it calls an anti-drug offensive, U.S. forces have carried out strikes on about 20 vessels in international waters in the region since early September, killing at least 76 people, according to U.S. figures. Asked for clarification on the precise nature of operation, Southern Speaker, a Pentagon spokesperson, simply referred inquiries back to Hexet's post on X. Newsmen on Wednesday cited multiple sources as saying senior military officials had presented Trump with updated options for potential operations in Venezuela, including strikes on land. Venezuela announced Tuesday that it called a major nationwide military deployment to counter the growing U.S. naval presence of its coast, including a newly arrived U.S. aircraft carrier strike group in the region. Caracas fears the deployment, which also includes F-35 stealth warplanes sent to Puerto Rico and 6 U.S. Navy ships in the Caribbean, is a regime change plot in disguise. U.S. forces have struck another alleged drug trafficking boat in the Caribbean, upping the death toll in the contentious anti-narcotics campaign to 80, U.S. media reports said Thursday. Washington began carrying out such strikes, which experts say amounts to extrajudicial killings, even if they target known traffickers in early September, taking aim at vessels in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific. This week's reported strike took the toll to 80 deaths in 20 strikes in international waters. The timing of the strike was not clear, with broadcaster CBS reporting the boat was destroyed on Monday and the New York Times reporting the strike took place on Wednesday, both citing an unnamed Pentagon official. The Pentagon did not immediately reply to a request for comment. The UN Human Rights Chief, Volker Turk, this month urged Washington to investigate the strike's legality, saying there was strong evidence they constitute extrajudicial killings. The U.S. Justice Department said the strikes are consistent with the law of armed conflict, and the government has signaled it will continue operations. Confederation of African Football and the AFCON Morocco 2025 local organizing committee have announced that fans traveling to the will be eligible for free electronic visas. This policy applies to citizens of countries that normally require a visa to enter Morocco. Electronic visas can be obtained through the Yala app at no cost for supporters attending the competition, which is scheduled to take place from 21 December 2025 to 18 January 2026. Fans are required to have both a fan identification and an e-visa to enter Morocco and gain access to stadiums during the tournament. The fan ID is mandatory for entry to all stadiums and official fan areas. Supporters can apply for both the fan ID and e-visa in a single process through the Yala app, streamlining travel and stadium access. Once approved, fans can purchase match tickets via the CAF ticketing platform. The measures aim to provide a smooth and secure experience for visitors, with the tournament set to be played across 9 stadiums in 6 cities. Morocco will host the African Cup of Nations for the first time since 1988, with 24 teams expected to compete in what promises to be a high-profile festival of African football featuring intense rivalries and a new generation of players. Super Eagles captain William Troost Ekong has named 4 leaders in Eric Schell's side. The former Watford defender spoke following Nigeria's 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying semi-final playoff 4-1 win against Gabon on Thursday. Recall that goals from Akor Adams, Chidera Ejuke and Victor Osimhen gave Nigeria the victory against Gabon in Rabat, Morocco. Marius Lemina's goal was not enough for Gabon as the match ended in favor of the Super Eagles. The Super Eagles will now face the DR Congo in the World Cup playoffs final on Sunday. Speaking to reporters after Nigeria defeated Gabon, Troost Ekong said that the likes of Victor Osimhen, Alex Iwobi, Wilfred Ndidi and Moses Simon are leaders in the Super Eagles. Super Eagles head coach Eric Chell has said his team must show an improvement from their performance against Gabon to be able to conquer Democratic Republic of Congo in the final of the 2026 FIFA World Cup playoffs. Chell's side trashed the Panthers of Gabon 4-1 in the semi-final of the playoffs at the Prince Héritier Moloue El Hassan Sports Complex, Rabat on Thursday. The Super Eagles will face the Leopards in the final at the same ground on Sunday. Democratic Republic of Congo edged out the indomitable Lions of Cameroon 1-0 to secure a date with the Super Eagles. Chelsea said they must correct their mistakes before the final texture. Veteran Nollywood actor Oyewole Olowo-Jumori, professionally known as Baba Jebu, has died. Baba Jebu reportedly passed away on Wednesday evening after a brief illness. His passing has been widely mourned within the Nollywood community. Popular movie director and actor Kunle Afod described him as a great legend, while actors Yemi Sholade Akin and actress Sajay and Showa Kosoko all expressed condolences, praying for his soul to rest in peace and for blessings on what he left behind. Baba Jebu's death marks the loss of a celebrated figure in the Nigerian film industry, remembered for his contributions to Nollywood over the years. Rapper Olamide has declared Wizkid as the greatest Afrobeat artist of this generation, second only to Fela Kuti. Speaking with newsmen, Olamide praised Wizkid's contributions to the genre, highlighting their collaborations on his hits like Street OT and Kana since 2011. He noted that Wizkid has consistently pushed Afrobeats onto the global stage, solidifying his position as a leading figure in the industry. The comments drew loud cheers from students and quickly went viral online, sparking renewed debates among fans about who truly leads Afrobeat today. While many praise Olamide's acknowledgement of Wizkid's influence, others disregard with his ranking. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Rivers government reintroduces discount markets to ease economic hardship. Court issues financial order stopping PDP National Convention. Tinubu reappoints Mohamed Marwa as NDLEA chairman. FG considers mandatory travel insurance for short-stay visas. Tanzania's President Samia orders inquiry into election killings. CAF announces free electronic visas for AFCON 2025 fans. Olamide hails Wizkid as the new king of Afrobeats. I am Francis Neka. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms. On Twitter, now X at Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do have a good night rest.